Hello everyone, my name is Muir and this is Starsector version 0.95.1a-RC6, and this is the Xyphos Enforcer. As you can see, we're using a lot of Xyphoses today. And what this one does is it outranges most other destroyer level ships and can also do some damage. So it also has a Xyphos. So it has integrated targeting units, so these are actually 120 range, well 1200 range. And this is, I think, still in the 700s. Yeah, I think so. And the Xyphos, these have their beams have a range of like, yeah, these have a range of like 1,500 due to the, no, 1,200 due to the advanced optics. Weapon groups look like this: 12 capacitors, 20 vents. If you have the skill that lets you increase vents, I am probably just increase the vents. Up to 25 or whatever it is, just so you can mitigate more of this and that. So what is this actually good at? Well, it's good at outranging enemy destroyers' weapons and just being able to do a bunch of damage to them. Remember, if you have more range than they do, you can win. So let's see how well it does against another enforcer, because that tends to be what we want to find out. Is it better than just having another? Is it better than building a standard enforcer? Well, we look over here. The enemy enforcer is going to be maxing out on its hard flex very soon, and also it's starting to have problems with its engines. So we're having a problem where every other attack it's having to let through. Now that's not good for the enemy enforcer, especially when it's having everything turned off by the Xyphos. Now, it has to do this because if it doesn't, and it gets overloaded, then this enforcer will bring its mortars online, which it's going to do now. What we're going to see here is this is going to start getting its armor stripped quite a bit faster, and it can't do much because it's constantly having its engines turned off. And well, this enforcer, it is capitalizing on the fact that that enforcer was venting, and the fact that it can overload, it can fill up its vents pretty quickly and easily. Now there is the problem here where this enforcer can sometimes, we'll say, overextend. Or what it needs to do now is just vent. But as I've said in the past and observed in the past, the player ships tend to be a little bit more conservative when they vent. It's something that could be an annoyance, but at the same time could also be a positive for you. The main thing here is that the only weapon that can actually get to our enforcer of the enemy right now is its missiles. Its thumpers can only get to us when we lit them, which is a problem for the enemy ship. We're able to outrange them, we're able to do some damage to them, and the Xyphos are able to keep them permanently disabled for the most part. So slowly but surely, our enforcer will win this fight. But alright. Now imagine if you had two enforcers against this. They'd be able to overwhelm this pretty quickly. It was 2v2. When one of the enemy enforcers started getting pushed back, this enforcer and the other one that would presumably be near each other would be able to start focusing on one of these ships. Now there is another aspect of this, and that is our enforcer, the Xyphos enforcer, is not focusing or relying on missiles in any capacity. And so what that means is that at the beginning of the fight to the end of the fight, it is just as effective it can't run out of ammunition. So we are going to be, so we're able to eliminate that as a potential issue. As you can see, the enemy ship's weapons are all pointed in the other direction, I think. So now this Enforcer's moving in to just see what it can do. It is very slowly tearing back that enemy Enforcer's armor and peeling and just cutting through its hull. But yeah, this has been a very much one-sided fight with minimal damage on our side and what will eventually turn into maximal damage on the enemy side. But yeah. The enemy Enforcer, knowing that it can't really do much, is spraying its missiles out at our ship in the hopes of keeping our ship at bay just long enough. Now there is one benefit to having a lot of annihilator missiles on the front of your ship, and that is that every now and again a railgun round hits a hyper velocity driver round hits a rocket instead of going through and hitting the ship or the shields. So that's one of the only major benefits that gives you, aside from being able to project force kind of far, but at the same time, it doesn't seem to be as beneficial as it could be. Alright, go and kill him. There isn't much you can do about it. And alright, there we go. So now the question becomes, why not a heavy mauler? Well, this is a higher DPS than a heavy mauler at a lower cost. The heavy mauler has, well, it has less flux per second, but it also costs more points. Its damage per second is 120 versus 220. So this is much more dangerous when it's being used. And these will take that enemy shields. But alright, so there we go. What about... It can't do anything against the Dominator. It's not enough. The Dominator is able to outrange it because it's using large weapons as well. Well, not outrange it, but it's able to kind of shrug off a lot of its attacks. But what about lots of frigates? That tends to be the other question. So if 3 hounds and one of these guys decide to get in a bar fight, who wins? Probably the hounds. That tends to be how this goes. But alright. Here they come. And he can win. The Enforcer could potentially win if it isn't getting shot by all 3 of them on all 3 sides, and he's able to keep he's able to take out one of the enemies very quickly, then he can sort of win. But if that doesn't happen, then not really. But here we have a best case scenario, because the Xyphos managed to disable the engines of one of the hounds. So if the Enforcer can capitalize on that and kill one of them, then it can win. If it can't, then it's going to have some problems. It seems to be starting to take these guys down, and they're also struggling to deal sufficient damage to it. So this build does also work against massed frigates, assuming, of course, that those frigates don't have shields. If they do have shields, then it starts to become a bit of a crapshoot, because the enemy will just... Nice. There we go. Against, say, pirates, it can be alright. So, just out of curiosity, how well does it do against something with shields? We'll put it up against 2 lashers and just see how well that works. My assumption is that it will either take them down quickly, or it will get one on each side and they'll just sort of shoot it until it dies. But as you can see, it's able to, push them out to keep them away. That's the advantage of far outranging the enemy. But the enemy has something that it doesn't, and those are salamanders. So we're just going to park this right on him. And, well, something just happened, and that is the engines of that lasher got disabled. If this turns into a 1v1, this fight is a foregone conclusion. That's really the benefit of the Xyphos. It's kind of gambling, but not entirely. So what this Enforcer needs to do is kind of floor it, use its burn drive a little bit closer, and then kill that one lasher. But the AI tends to be very, very passive, which can sometimes be beneficial. Now, as long as the salamanders keep coming in low numbers, this will continue to work out for the Enforcer, because it seems to be right now. Alright, so it needs to use its burn drive. Hope it makes some decisions here, because it needs to more aggressively go after these guys. We could give it a Reckless Officer, and it would do that. So that does mean that this can be piloted by Reckless Officers and still be useful. And once again, it could use its burn drive to close in and kill that lasher. But player ships tend to be a bit passive by comparison to AI ships. Alright, and now this is a 1v1 battle, so that's going to be... so its victory is a... Its victory is a... its victory is a foregone conclusion at that point. So, how well does it do against carriers? Well, any 1v1 with a carrier, we'll throw it up against, say, a Talon. A carrier that uses Talons. In this case, because of its burn drive and its extreme range, and the Xyphos, it will be able to chase down that carrier. And maybe be able to kill it. But it really depends on whether or not it focuses on the carrier or is overly frightened of the Talons. It looks like in this case it's just going to go straight for the carrier. And, well, that was unfortunate. But it seems as though it has the wherewithal to know that it can ignore the Talons and very quickly kill them off. And just chase down that Condor. But yeah, that tends to be how this goes. It will either chase them down or or focus on trying to kill the fighters. In this case, it knows it can just chase them down. Alright. This battle is over. So it's just going to shoot that to death. So how well does it actually do against a Dominator? Well, let's find out. Dominators are notoriously bad ships. So we'll just see how well it does. I'm not expecting it to do particularly well. But you never know. And as you can see, got overloaded and is probably going to die. But yeah, very soon. It's going to die right now. So yeah, it's really good for its size category. It can take down frigates. It can be a threat. It can take down destroyers in sufficient numbers. It probably could be a threat to cruisers and capitals. This is definitely sort of an artillery build with it, as opposed to something that's supposed to fly in and brawl and really just shoot something to death. Because those brawling ships, more often than not, need to be safety overridden. That's a big one. and they need to just do as much damage as possible in as short of a time as possible. Check out the Unending Barrage series of ships that I have for more on that. But alright guys, go ahead and leave me a comment below what you think about this, and yeah, just let me know what's going on, guys. Alright everyone, my name is Muir. This has been Starsector version 0.95.1a RC6. Go ahead and leave me a like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell, and share the video if you think you would like, and I will catch you guys next time. Bye everyone.